Yo, what is up, YouTube boxing family? It's K-Rod here. I'm back at it with another good video for y'all today. I'm gonna be talking about the whole situation with Lorenzo Simpson, with his canceled fight along with Mr. Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bey. I figured that I'd just talk about this because this was a very, very messy issue. And I guess I wanted to, see what people's mindsets were. And I think the problem was is that this fight of its own was supposed to be a fight that was supposed to have a good card on it. Obviously, the card itself wasn't really that good, but some fights on the card really delivered. Other fights really were bad. But the two fights that everyone obviously wanted to see was Mickey Bey versus Tevin Farmer, and Lorenzo Simpson versus Ty Edmonds. I thought this was very, very stupid. Obviously, shown here on my, Instagram story, I pretty much shared all the details of, what went on within this situation. A huge big shout out to Lorenzo Simpson, because he really tried to do everything possible to make the fights happen. But I think the biggest issue of the matter was just that nobody wasn't basically being held accountable to the standard at which they should have been, how should I say, they should have been held held to a high standard, to a degree where the fighters should have been taken care of in this situation. But the problem was, obviously, with Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bey, there was some promotional corruption where some janky-ass promoter that was running the fight didn't want to pay the fighters, what they were asking for. So the promotional company themselves try to act like, oh, well, everything's fine, we're going to pretend as if this fight is happening. But no, they weren't getting paid, so therefore, nothing was basically final between both teams. So therefore, that really put the fight downhill, for the sense of nobody wasn't really held to the standard of getting what their wealth of what they deserved. And I found that to be pretty messed up. I think Lorenzo Simpson, he obviously gets the most shine on this situation, because what I'm showing to you here is pretty much what he's pretty much explaining, what I'm going to just recap off of. Everything that happened with this fight, well, I'll talk about Mickey Bey and Tevin Farmer. Obviously, it was a promotional issue, but on top of that, they were not given the money that was necessary to compensate for the fight. So therefore, they were not being given their guaranteed money that they signed off for. So therefore, the contract was not being fulfilled. See, now, for me, myself, I'm not a believer in contracts. I think contracts are pretty stupid, and I don't really like the idea of how fighters do get screwed over for the sake of going through something in boxing where things go downhill to a point where nobody's being nobody's basically being represented in the event of people being, compensated for the things that they want. Obviously, if I offer you a apple and you buy it off of me, do we need a contract together to state that you bought this apple off of me? No. You should have the proof of the manner that you use some form of wealth, or you use some form of trade that was marketable, for us to prove that we are not screwing each other over, because any rational human being would want to know, okay, you got this really good item off of me, but what did you give back to the trader or to the merchant in return for the item that you got off of the selling merchant? And that's pretty much the thing of how boxing should be. Boxing should just be a very simplistic level of business, where the fighters don't have to go through so many hoops and loops just to get a fight going. But knowing how promotional politics are in the sport of boxing, that's what makes the sport itself very, very corrupt and very, very evil. So, with that being said, we can definitely agree that Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bey should have fought last night or 2 nights ago, now that it's Sunday. So the problem is just that this fight itself could have easily been taken care of a lot easier if there was a proper promotional business taking this fight over. In which I personally felt like this fight should have been on DAZN. I personally think this fight shouldn't have deserved itself to be held by any small promotional company. I think DAZN could have easily promoted this fight to be a main event fight because Tevin Farmer, he is a name in the sport of boxing, but he's obviously not a super duper big name. There are some problems with how he's been moved within his career, but I think with a guy like Mickey Bey on his resume, a fight of this magnitude should have been on a bigger level promotional card like DAZN, Top Rank, in which I don't really want to see Top Rank take that, and I don't think Bob Arum would even care. But if Top Rank wanted to take it, fine, take it. I think that Triller would have easily done some good numbers of having Tevin Farmer versus Mickey Bey, and then obviously Lorenzo Simpson being on that card. I don't know what happened with Lorenzo Simpson's last fight date. He was supposed to fight on the Gervonta Tank Davis undercard. And I don't know what happened with him. I think, something happened in terms of him not being able to, get a solidified opponent. So maybe that's why he's been sitting on the shelf for quite some time. I know Lorenzo, he's not really with any other, well, like, some people like to say he's with Mayweather Promotions, but I don't think he is. I think he's either a promotional free agent or he's with I could be wrong, but maybe he's with Darren Cunningham Promotions. I'm not too sure. I think him and Darren Cunningham, they work together of some sort, but I think he's his own promotional free agent. I'm not too sure what Lorenzo would be doing, but I think based off of his level of getting fights is kind of difficult because he's not really connected with any big time promotional networks to just get fights in, get your name out there, and just continue to climb up the ladder a lot faster. So I'm pretty sure he's a promotional free agent. That seems to be the right move for him because I don't understand why he would not want to do that. Otherwise, if he was with any big promotional network, we would have been known that. I think PBC would have easily picked him up, a long time ago. And I mean, he's only 22 years old. He fights at middleweight, if I'm not mistaken. Lorenzo did fight his last fight at hold on, I think it was super middleweight. But I mean, Lorenzo, he needs to just stick to one weight class because he does have these weird, in between fights where he does fight at one weight class and then he goes up and down a weight. So I think it's best for him to just keep it at 160 because he's a really, really good fighter at 160. So he starts to scale a lot better at that weight class. But yeah, he's more of a natural middleweight. He's not he's not a super middleweight. I think he could do very good at that weight, but I think that should be a weight class he should focus on later down the road. But I think as of now, the middleweight division is his division. But yeah, he's a very, very good fighter, man. He has very good skills. He's a very dangerous, leveled southpaw, 5'10" with a 68-inch arm reach. They call him Truck because, he literally has hands of steel with his hands hitting you like a truck. So that's why Lorenzo Truck Simpson, he's a very, very, fast rising rookie in the game. I think he's very, very, he's very game bred for the high level, but you just need to start, pushing him veteran level opposition. And I think he'll eventually take out everybody that's at the top already. I don't see that many people really doing anything to really do any damage at middleweight, unless anybody from 154 is coming up to the middleweight division. But I think him and Nikita Ababi, that's going to be a great fight one day. He could beat up Joshua Conley. I think he would stop him. Edward Ortiz, that's a good fight. And I like to see, man. I mean, there's plenty of good fights here. Quantavious Cash, anybody in the top 100. I like to see him and Ian Green. I've heard some good things about him. I mean, the competition's there. I like to see, personally for me, I want to see Lorenzo go up against Austin Williams or Ismael Villa Real, who just recently stopped Leishon Rodriguez. Surprisingly, that was on the recent, PBC card that he was on. Yeah, he was on the Danny Garcia, Jose Benavidez Jr. card, and I find that surprising that he stopped him. But yeah, he's a very, very good fighter. He's out of the Bronx. But yeah, there's plenty of good smoke for Lorenzo Simpson. I think his ceiling's really going to be up there once he starts, getting up to those high level names. But I think the step in the right direction is just try to keep yourself active, find some good opponents for him to put himself up there faster. But I think he's going to get up there. It's not that hard for him to boost his name up. He can easily take out any of these guys that are out of the UK or anywhere from Europe. He can knock out Anthony Fowler. Yeah, he'll beat the shit out of him. And then there's plenty of good level competition out there where he can easily just roll right through the division, and then he can move right up after he gets a belt or two. But yeah, let's talk about the corruption that happened with his opponent. And then I'll just, basically end the video off of here. But his opponent, Ty Edmonds, his team was basically making up weird excuses to say why the fight itself couldn't be made because blah, 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 promotional issues. In which that was true. There was, contractual issues of, of Ty Edmonds' team not getting the money that they needed, in which Devin Haney stepped in along with another promoter that was with Devin Haney, along with, Lorenzo Simpson's team, where they basically said straight up, hey, we got your money right here, we can give it to you in pure cash, in which this is going to be the most money that his opponent has ever made in all of his fights. So, the problem was that Edmund's father was making up weird excuses to say, oh, well, I need something in writing, in a contract to make this fight happen, blah, 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 and I'm like, what? Since who does that in the sport of boxing? If you're coming in to a fight in which you came all the way from good old Mississippi, that's where they came from. They came all the way from Mississippi down to Phoenix, Arizona, just to fight Lorenzo Simpson, and then you make up some weird ass excuse to say, "Oh well, I need something in contractual writing to say that I got this money from Devin or whoever," just to say that's going to make the fight. So either way, it was pretty stupid. Obviously, I'm pretty sure there was more to it, but the problem that I have is just that Lorenzo and his team put more sacrifice in trying to make this fight happen because he wanted this fight more than anybody else. And Ty Edmonds acted like he didn't want this fight because he's now, moving around in cold feet, trying to act like that this fight shouldn't be made, and he's making up weird ass excuses to say, oh, well, I'm not, I'm not too sure if I'm going to be compensated well for this fight, and, whatnot, but, obviously he showed a lot of energy to basically say, yeah, man, I ain't gonna fight, Lorenzo Simpson, simply because I'm ducking him. So, it was just a bunch of hearsay, a bunch of stupid stuff that, Edmund's team was making, primarily his mother, but I think the biggest problem was both his mother and father, in which I would probably say that was his parents, because it kind of sounded like that was his parents that were telling him what to do, in which I don't know why his parents would manage his career. Honestly, this is the biggest problem that I have with boxing. You have some teams out there where they have families run their management, and then the family starts acting stupid by screwing over their child's career. Therefore, their child is not being able to have a final say in the situation, in which that's how it should be in any universal setting in boxing. You should have a final say because you are the fighter. You are your own boss, and that's why I champion that mindset of having boxing being ran like a league where everyone's their own boss and you make the shots. But you cannot make these weird excuses to say, oh, well, it's my promoter that didn't make the fight. No. Boxing needs to be set up like an individualized business leveled sport where you could have your own team, but if the fight doesn't get made for whatever reason where you don't want to fight this top guy to become the number one guy in your division, you should lose your opportunity as a fighter and you have to work your way up to become number one. That's how boxing should be if you got rid of sanction bodies and promoters. But the problem is that fighters are able to duck fighters and still find a way to get up to the top through any sanction body out of the four or any other sanction body just to be recognized, right? It's stupid. It's a very evil mechanism because one, the sanction bodies are robbing you legally through the means of taking your money and doing what with it? Nothing. They're using it for their own political gain. But on top of that, if the athletes are still able to find ways to basically cut corners and not be able to fight the toughest opposition in their division, now there's a problem for that, because you cannot tell me that you're number one in your division but you're not facing the top opposition. That doesn't make any damn sense. So that's pretty much what the problem that's really shown here in this video. Lorenzo and his team basically had, I think, like 3 other opponents lined up. That's what he said in like his recent Instagram stories predating to the cancellation, because his fight got canceled with Ty Edmonds. So the fight itself wasn't, made, because Edmonds' team, i.e. his mother and father, they just basically ducked out of the fight. And, personally, Edmonds, he just didn't want to get beat up by Lorenzo, which I'm going to talk about the gloves, the glove situation, and then that's pretty much it for that. But everything else is just kind of weird, man. It was just so stupid how Edmonds tried to make up all the weirdest excuses in the world to say why the fight can't be made. And then the stupid thing about it with the gloves, when Lorenzo had his gloves, in which I would highly suggest that any fighter that's listening, you have to make sure that you have at least a backup pair of good, well-padded gloves. And I would probably try to go with winning gloves, but obviously not every fighter is comfortable wearing certain branded of gloves, because there's certain fighters out there that like to wear puncher's gloves, like Grant gloves, or any gloves that actually have like a good hit to it. But then there's other fighters that are good with using winning brand gloves or any other gloves that protect their fists or their knuckle to make sure that they're able to, protect their hands. So the problem was that Lorenzo Simpson had his pair of gloves that him and his team had used or had to which I think they were like Grant, they were Grant new, like, newly pair, they were like a fresh new pair of Grant gloves. I think they were black and red, but basically the Grant gloves that they use were very good padded gloves, in which there was no tear, there was no wear and tear on it, there was no, tampering on them. Everything was fine. So Ty Edmonds' team basically said, nah, man, we're not going to be fighting, him, with those gloves on. Those gloves are not the gloves that we want to see our fighter fight up against Lorenzo. And I guess his weird-ass mom tried to say, oh, well, I don't want, like, my son to get hurt, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, dude, it's a fight. Like, your son's going to get hurt, regardless of what happens. And if he gets knocked out, whether if it's in Grant gloves or whatever brand gloves, it don't matter. It's boxing. But still, they were making a weird hiss fit over that. And Lorenzo and his team, was told by the commission to say that, well, the other team, said that, you can't wear these Grant gloves. They want you to wear like a different pair. But the problem was that, Lorenzo and his team, they didn't have any pair of gloves. Like, they didn't have any backup pair of gloves. So therefore the commission, they were like, okay, well, we don't have any other, backup pair of gloves. And like basically they were saying that they don't have any like newly fresh gloves, but they did have like a used pair of gloves. And I guess they gave him some Title Boxing branded gloves that were very bloodied. They were like white and red gloves, but the thing was that they were all bloodied up. They looked like that they were worn, like, in a recent fight, and it just looked disgusting. It kind of looked like something was very fishy in this fight, and it kind of looked like that, if Lorenzo was going to get into like a dog fight, with his opponent, his opponent will probably be messed up from the germs and damages that are going to be done, that's going to transpire through his gloves onto his face. So, Yeah, I don't think that was a really smart idea in the first place to use some worn used gloves that could get somebody sick, in the ring. But that was a red flag, off of that situation. And then the second situation was obviously, Edmund's team with his mom and dad making up weird excuses to say why the fight can't be made because of financial issues, in which Devin Haney and some other guy that was standing right by him, there was like a whole video exposed of it. Blue Blood was, inside the dressing room or locker room talking with like the family of Edmund's team. So basically Devin offered, saying to him like, hey, look, we'll pay out for your purse. And the mother gladly said thank you to Devin, blah blah blah. But they were making up weird ass excuses to say why the fight still can't be made, because we don't want to get screwed over by the promotion, to say that there was some contractual binding that could have ruined the finances for the fight, in which that's probably never going to happen, because it's not going to bind any contract, other than the promoters are not giving the fighters what they're not giving the fighters what they signed up to get paid for. But on top of that, it's like, you don't need to have another contract to say Devin Haney is going to give you more money to both teams to make sure that the fight is fully funded, because that's all that both teams want. They want to have their money and just go home. In which, I, as a fan, the fighters need to get paid a lot more money. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But but the real problem is that they were still making excuses to say, oh well, I need to have like a contract with you, or like basically, Ty Edmonds' father said, did I sign a contract with you? Blah blah blah. Like all this stupid nonsensical shit that makes no goddamn sense in what Devin's trying to do to make the fight made. And yet they still found ways to back out of it. After all this talk of them saying to Lorenzo Simpson's team, be like, nah, man, you can't wear, you can't wear these Grant gloves. These Grant gloves are not the gloves that we like you to wear, blah, blah, blah. To saying, oh, well, we need more money, blah, blah, blah. And it's all fucking horse shit, and it's all, a waste of time. And I guess if Ty Edmonds or his parents are watching, to hell with you guys, because you guys wasted all this time, all this promotional nonsensical stuff to go through the manner of not wanting to fight Lorenzo when it's coming to fight night, and you're making up all these weird ass excuses why the fight can't be made, but yet Lorenzo and his team wanted this fight. And then the weird fact of the matter, or the more pathetic fact of the matter, is that Ty Edmonds, he came in overweight, in which he should have been penalized from the first place. It's like, why the hell would you want to fight Lorenzo that came in under, the weight limit, and then you, literally came in, what? I guess, a pound or two over? It was supposed to be scheduled, for 160, I think. But still, it's just like, Ty Edmonds did not come into this fight disciplined. He came into this fight thinking, he's going to basically do whatever he wants, and nah, man. I'm glad that things probably got, resolved, but I think, I'm pretty sure Lorenzo, he probably got some money, for the penalties, and I'm pretty sure Devin probably helped him out, probably giving him something, probably gave him some good, good little couple $1,000s of some sort. But yeah, either way, that was stupid. They should have found a better, opponent than Mr. Edmonds. And I don't have a lot of respect for fighters that make up a lot of weird excuses to not fight another fighter, and that's just wasting everybody's time. But I would hope Mr. Edmonds, he learns from this and he moves forward with his career. And hey, if you get knocked out in your career, then so be it, because you did not come into your fight prepared. You did not come into this fight thinking that you want to win, because you could have won, but you didn't want to win. So therefore, that's a duck. So, I don't know, man. But let me know what you guys think. Where does Lorenzo Simpson go from here? Should he still try to, put himself back on the Mickey Bey, Tevin Farmer card if they ever try to find another rescheduled venue and a better promotional company that will pick up the fight? I think DAZN would be that perfect promotional platform to do it. But you know, who knows? I think that should be something that Tevin and his team should do along with Mickey Bey. And I think Lorenzo, he should be a part of that card. Otherwise, I'd like to see Lorenzo probably try to get himself on, like, you know, onto any big card. I think PBC would be like the right route, because I think PBC should really pick him up. And he, like, you know, he's such a great talent, and he definitely needs to stay super duper active heading into this, like, you know, this upcoming year. So yeah, shout out to Lorenzo Simpson, and shout out to Devin Haney for trying to do his best to try to keep that fight active that got fizzled. And shout out to Mickey Bey and Tevin Farmer, man. So hopefully we get to see them two fight it out soon, along with Lorenzo Simpson coming back into the mix. But I just wanted to give like my little brief thoughts on this, so I could just basically explain what my take is on this. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day, and be sure to like, rate, comment, and share this video. Peace out, and thank you very much. Goodbye.